I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Jill Lublin, world-renowned publicity expert, international speaker, and four-time best-selling author. Please enjoy Jill Lublin. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I'm here with Jill Lublin, world-renowned publicity expert, international speaker, and four-time best-selling author. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well. And I can't wait to chat with you about creativity and how that shows up in the world of publicity. But before we get there, why don't you take just a couple of moments and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Oh, thank you. So as you can see from behind me, I have 4 books and I teach media mastery intensives based on guerrilla publicity. Super fun. I love helping really people, just like all of us, get publicity done without spending a fortune. And then I run kindness circles based on the profit of kindness. And we help each other in the spirit of kindness once every month. It's super wonderful. And we have just incredible spirit connections together and all kinds of great things happen. So that's really my game. Is helping people get their message out, doing it in a spirit of kindness, getting a creative message going, and we can talk about that in just a bit. And then I speak all over the world and really help all kinds of people with messaging and publicity and becoming, okay, here it is, the star that you are.
I love it. That's wonderful. I'm curious, how did you get into publishing and what is guerrilla publicity? Not publishing, publicity. My apologies.
Yes, I got into publicity really quite by accident. It wasn't one of these, I planned for it. And I actually was in law school thinking I would complete that. And well, then I got to law school and for a highly creative mind like mine, it was really a difficult place to be. So I actually dropped out. And during the time, however, of law school, the good news is I got through it by really being in a creative field, which is the music business. And I got to be with artists and help that way and help publicize them and really learn my chops, so to speak, by being in the music business.
That's amazing. I love that. And I can only imagine how much creativity goes into publicity and having to use your creative skills. But I'm really curious, what does it mean to you to be creative?
Well, for me, it means that I get to use all my skills in helping people, particularly in messaging. For me, is a very creative process with regard to what are you going to tell the media about who you are, what you do, and why they should have you in an interview versus anyone else. So that's a very creative process. And frankly, publicity itself is highly creative because it's really about showing up. How are you going to make yourself known? How can people know who you are in good and important ways? And that's super great. So I think, in my world, everything's creative just because I'm creative. I don't do boring. And sometimes if I do, it's like maybe that person is for somebody else, and that's okay. Not everybody's the right fit for me or that I'm the right fit for them, but certainly people, I'm told, enjoy my creative process.
I love that. And when you kind of bring your creativity to something, what is your creative stamp that you like to put on projects or that you get sparked for you in the process?
Well, I think a lot of that is a certain formula I have that actually allows for that creativity and allows for the person to be receptive and responsive
Mm-hmm.
their creative stance, right? And frankly, I'm always looking underneath what people are saying, like, "Oh, do you mean this?" And I pull out from them the things that maybe they forgot was so special about them. Oh, yeah, what about that? And I think what I love is the way people light up when you can find unusual things. What I might call creativity, or you might call creative
Mm-hmm.
about them, that, instead of being just X, they're X plus Y plus Z.
Right. Oh my goodness. I love that. And kind of that detective work to really get underneath what people are saying to find their creative spark. It's so
Yeah.
important. Well, I can only imagine how challenges show up in publicity and curveballs get thrown. How do you face creative challenge?
Mm. So, one thing is you have to kind of pull up your pants and start again sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes if I'm stuck, I walk outside, I go
Mhm.
see sunsets, I go take a nap. I mean, sometimes you just go, okay, I'll come back to this. So that
Yeah.
is one thing, that if I am getting into a stuck place, I'm gonna go to the next project. I'm gonna move on, and then I'll come back to that.
Mhm.
And I think that's important, that we give ourselves a break sometimes. That not every moment is creative or juicy. And if you're not feeling it that day, don't be it. Don't be creative. It's like, this is not my creative day, And then there are days
Sure.
when we're just like on fire and things are woo, and. So
Mhm.
those are the days I particularly love to do my most creative work, or reach out, or find new opportunities, and really come out there.
Nice. And do you do that for your clients as well, or is that, helping them figure out how to navigate their own challenges in getting their message out?
Oh, absolutely. I do it mostly for my clients, and of course for myself.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And so in a day, I'm talking to different people, and bring that creative hat, I put it
Yeah.
on, and we get started. And I do consider myself creative with really most of my clients. That's why I'm saying, if for some reason I'm having an off kind of day, I've
Mhm.
learned for me that maybe it's not the best day. Like, maybe we won't do that creative piece
Yeah.
in my client media consultations. Maybe we won't do it right then. We'll do something else.
That makes sense to give the creative juices more time to percolate
Yes.
and
Yeah.
figure out. Yeah. Well, when you think about creativity in your life over your lifespan, what is your earliest memory of being creative?
Hmm. It's interesting because it's an interesting thing. My parents rewarded being smart versus creative.
Yeah.
And I realized that actually I was a very creative young person. That was a part of me that wasn't really, shall we say, not authorized, but just not encouraged.
Uh-huh.
And so I found myself writing poetry later.
Hmm.
I actually started hosting craft nights, just because honestly, because I didn't think I was crafty. So I thought, what a great way to really deal with this. Let's host craft nights. And then, by the way, I did them on Zoom during COVID.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, what permission to give yourself to show up in creative spaces and create the creative spaces for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So,
I remember this woman showed up one time. And this was more friends and some colleagues, and she showed up with this huge tray of glass. She said, "Oh, let's paint glass." And I thought, well, that sounds like fun. I swear, mine looked like a 5-year old. It really did. And I was like
perfect.
almost embarrassed, but the truth is, it was good. And
Yeah.
and I, for me, part of it has been getting over the fact that, oh, I can't do this, or maybe I don't know how to do this, and then doing it anyway, and having
Right.
it be kind of silly looking, whatever. It's my 5-year-old glassware.
I love it. I love the 5-year-old glassware, recapturing that childlike experience that it sounds like you didn't get to play much with as a
Yeah,
child. Yeah.
that's true. That's true. So I think allowing ourselves to play more. I am very into fun, and I
Mm.
think that that helps the creative spirit a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, seeing as how your parents really valued being smart, and it sounds like that was instilled in you, how did you hook into that creative side or that creative space in your life? What was that moment for you?
I think knowing that fun was important to me because
Hmm.
creatively, fun is very creative, right? Figuring
Yeah.
out where you want to go, what you want to do for fun.
Yeah.
For me, it's a creative process. I am, I think intuitive goes with creative, and
Yeah.
and that's a part of who I've always been. Um,
Mm.
I think as I've gotten older, honestly, I've given myself far more permission to be much more creative. And you know, and the messy is okay. The messy is part of that creative.
Mm. Yeah. So, how does that show up in the work that you do?
Sometimes my desk is messy right now. Let me just say, I'm looking around going, "Ooh, I think I got to clean this up." But sometimes I think it's a little bit of part of a creative mind. For me, I've noticed that for me that sometimes it's like I have to have kind of a bit of a mess around me, and then I like pile it, then I create order from that. That's
Mhm.
just how I work. It's
Yeah.
not always the best, I know, and I'm not always the most orderly. That's what
Sure.
organizers are for.
Absolutely.
But if you look to the left of my desk, I've got like my rocks all over, and
Mm.
they're in a pretty bowl. I've got sand I collected from a pretty place.
Mm.
I've got my candles and my sprays, and I got Pete the cat's groovy guide to kindness because I
Oh,
run kindness circles. I mean, that's my
yeah.
creative side. I got a dolphin coming out of the water, you know. Not really. I mean, in a painting.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so
If you look
curious.
all over my office, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's creativity everywhere. You can see it.
beautiful and so inspiring to have those pieces in your space. I'm curious to learn more about the profit of kindness and how that shows up and how creative you get to be in that space.
Oh, it's well, so monthly we have these wonderful kindness circles. Happy to post a link for your listeners and
Yeah.
viewers. And it's free, and I love to bring people together in kindness.
Mm.
And it's creative because the beginning is all about, okay, everybody, what have you been doing that's been kind this week? And they post it, and all of a sudden, all these, wow, you just feel that. It's also creative to find a speaker who's 10 minutes. I love finding 10-minute inspiring speakers who come to the circle. In fact, I go through the People magazine. They have a kindness issue in November, and I like earmark people. Well, guess what? I got one coming this month who's 15 years old who runs all this cool kindness projects. That's for me is creative.
Yeah.
Finding amazing people to contribute, and then leading the circles. That's very creative for me. It's
Mhm.
creative work.
Absolutely. I mean, and wonderful to spread kindness and encourage others to pay attention to kindness, is what I'm
Yes.
hearing also. Yeah. I love that someone who's 15 is coming to speak at your next one. That's
Like,
great.
whoa.
Yeah. I mean, working with the clientele that you work with, I imagine people show up and feel like, oh, I'm not creative. That's why I hired you to do the creative piece. So,
That's
how
fine. That's perfect.
how would you encourage others to find creativity in their life?
Well, first of all, stop the judging of oneself.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I listen, I'm guilty as charged too. There's I think getting us each individually off of our own self-judgment, not to mention judgment of others, but certainly our own self-judgment about, like that 5-year-old glassware story. I mean, I think I still have it because it's just so funny. Now it just makes me laugh, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a metaphor about it's okay, it was messy. And I wasn't perfect and it didn't look great. Listen, I have an artist friend. Well, actually, she's a business friend and she's incredibly creative and very talented. And I found myself going, wow, how do you do that? That's so cool. Yeah. And she inspires me to do like, oh, let's try that. Or, she goes, oh, I went to a bookbinding class at the museum. I'm like, really? Like, and that's a great idea. Let's see what classes, the places are offering. So find classes that just inspire you and feel like something that could be fun. And especially now with Zoom, and there's so many easy ways to take classes to be creative. And so I make sure, for me, I love doing poetry. So making sure, okay, am I writing poetry? And, is that happening enough? Or am I dancing, which I like? And that's creative for me. Making sure I get out in nature, that's creative for me. Watching sunsets, like whatever it is for you, that's creative. I think creativity is a big concept, and it can be all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be art necessarily. It can be the way you live your life is creative.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that, and try and live my life in that fashion as well. I'm wondering, what is your favorite part about the work that you do?
Well, it really is about connecting with my clients, giving them ability to translate their messages and frankly, get them out in the world, becoming, for me, a messenger of messengers. So I love that. And I love speaking and presenting also to groups and associations. That's a lot of fun too.
That sounds amazing. And this has been such a treat to chat with you. I just have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Free, expansive, exciting. Sometimes like I don't know if it's nerve-wracking a little bit. I mean, there are times where it's like, oh, I don't know. And sometimes like out of my head, which I think is a good place to be.
Absolutely. For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. If people want to learn more about the work you do, the books you have out in the world, how could they go about doing that?
Well, definitely go to jilllublin.com, and it'll be, I'm sure, in the show notes too. And pick up my free gift, which is a super publicity action guide and an interactive masterclass with me direct live on screen. So that'll be really fun too. And for that, you go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift.
Oh my gosh, wonderful. I will be sure to list all of that and link them in the show notes so people have easy access. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Me too.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.